The rain had been falling all day. Heavy, wild, relentless. It beat against the chapel windows like a warning from heaven. And even though the thunder rolled like judgment, our house remained quiet, full of hymn books and hot tea, and the kind of stillness only guilt understands. I was curled up in my room, tracing verses from the book of Proverbs, when I heard my father's voice echo through the hallway. "Someone's at the door." At first, I didn't move. Strangers didn't come around here, especially not during storms, especially not out in this little town where even sinners whispered. But then I heard it, the creak of the front door opening, the shift in my father's tone, the quiet urgency in my mother's gasp. I stepped into the hallway, heart beating faster than I'd like to admit, and that's when I saw her. Haley, barefoot, soaking wet, a cut running down the side of her cheek, like someone had tried to erase her. Her eyes were wide and wild, not terrified, no, more like tired of running. She clutched the straps of a worn-out backpack, like it was the only thing still tethering her to this world. A threadbare flannel shirt clung to her body, revealing more skin than I was used to seeing outside of textbooks on anatomy and lectures on modesty. "Please," she said, her voice ragged like gravel and rain. "I just need a place to stay just for a night." My father, Pastor Elijah, stepped forward. "We don't turn away the broken," he said. "Not under my roof." And just like that, the devil walked in barefoot and bleeding, and we let her. I watched her from behind the hallway wall as my mother fetched a towel, and Haley wiped her face. Her fingers trembled. Her lip was split. Her presence loud. Even when she said nothing, she glanced toward the stairs toward me, and for the briefest moment, her eyes locked on mine. It felt like someone had kicked the breath out of my lungs. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just stared. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen like Lot's wife, staring at something I wasn't supposed to look at. But when I finally turned away, I felt it, a low hum under my skin. Not fear, not even guilt, just something dangerous I didn't have a name for yet. She was sitting at our kitchen table, like she'd always belonged there. Haley, she had showered. I could tell by the steam clinging to her skin. My mother gave her one of my father's old t-shirts to wear. It hung off her shoulder, too big and too soft, like it wasn't made for her, but somehow looked better on her than it ever did on him. Her wet hair was tucked behind her ears, and the bruise on her cheek had darkened. She had a scratch across her collarbone too, fresh, angry, like someone had clawed at her. And still she looked calm, not polite, not thankful, just calm, like chaos followed her everywhere, and this was just another pit stop on the way to the next storm. I sat across from her, not too close, but not far enough to keep my eyes from betraying me every few seconds. My mother placed a bowl of soup in front of her. "It's not much, but it's warm," she said. Haley didn't look up. "Warm is more than I've had in a while." Her voice was low, a little raspy, like she hadn't used it much lately. We ate in silence, the kind of silence that feels thick, like everyone had questions they weren't allowed to ask. My father said a prayer before the food, of course. Head bowed, voice steady. "Father, bless this house and those who sit at this table. Heal the hurt. Forgive the sin and guide the lost." When I opened my eyes, I saw Haley hadn't closed hers the entire time. She stared at him while he prayed, like she was daring God to show up. She caught me looking again, didn't say anything, just raised one eyebrow. I looked away, cheeks warm. "You live far from here?" my mother asked, trying to be gentle. Haley took a spoonful of soup, chewed like she hadn't eaten real food in weeks. "I've lived a lot of places," she said. None of them really count. My father gave her a strange look. Not quite judgment. Not quite trust either. "Where is your family?" he asked. Haley licked soup off her bottom lip. "I lost them," she said, then added, "Some by accident. Some on purpose." The room got quiet again. I kept my eyes on my bowl, pretending I wasn't hanging on her every word, pretending my mind wasn't stuck on the way her shirt slipped every time she leaned forward. I wasn't used to this feeling, wanting someone I knew I shouldn't. Not like this. Not so soon. Not so bad. I stole one more glance before I got up. My spoon clinked against the bowl louder than I meant. Haley looked up at me again, and this time she smiled, but only a little, like she knew something I didn't. I didn't smile back. I couldn't. My father was still in the room, but as I walked away, I felt her eyes stay on me. Like a heat I couldn't pray away. I couldn't sleep. Not even a little. The rain had stopped sometime after dinner, but it left behind this thick silence, the kind that makes every thought feel louder than it should. I was curled under my blanket, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles, whispering prayers I wasn't even sure I meant anymore. Lord, help me, guard my thoughts, cleanse my heart, keep me strong. My mouth moved, but my chest was tight, because all I could think about was her. Haley, the way she licked her spoon without realizing, the way she stared straight through my father's prayer like it didn't touch her, the way she walked like nothing could break her, even though she already looked cracked in 100 places. I'd never met anyone like her. I'd spent most of my life around soft-spoken church girls and polite Sunday boys who said yes ma'am and no sir, and smelled like cologne and conviction. Haley smelled like sweat and smoke, and I didn't hate it. I rolled over onto my side and shut my eyes hard. I tried to think of something holy, a hymn, a verse, anything, but instead I saw her, in the kitchen, water dripping from her collarbone, that oversized shirt hanging too loose off one shoulder, and that tattoo on her wrist. It was a small one, a bird, maybe a crow or a raven, I couldn't tell. But I'd stared at it while she lifted her spoon. It moved when she moved. I imagined what it'd feel like to trace it with my finger. I imagined what her skin would feel like, warm and damp from the shower. My hand drifted to my stomach, then lower. And I panicked. I yanked it back like I'd touched fire. "No!" I whispered to the darkness. "No, no, no." My heart was racing. My body aching in a way I didn't have the words for. I wasn't supposed to feel this. Not for anyone. And definitely not for a girl. I sat up, threw my blanket off, and reached for the Bible on my nightstand like it was a lifeline. I opened it to Psalms. "Create in me a clean heart, O God." My voice cracked as I read it, not because I was moved, but because I felt dirty. And I didn't want to stop feeling dirty. I closed the book, held it to my chest, and just sat there breathing heavy, skin buzzing. Somewhere down the hall I heard a door creak. Just once. My heart jumped. Was it her? Was she still awake too? I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just listened. Silence. Then the soft sound of a window sliding open. A breeze. And what I swear was a whisper. Not to me. Not loud. Just there. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I wanted to. But I laid back down. Heart pounding like sin in my ears, and I knew this wasn't just a crush. It wasn't curiosity. It was temptation. Raw, ugly, beautiful temptation. And no prayer in the world was going to make it disappear. Sunday mornings were supposed to feel clean. Like rinsing the week off your skin and stepping into something white and new. But that morning nothing felt clean. Not the dress I wore. stiff with starch. Not the smile I faked for Sister Joan when she kissed my cheek and said I looked blessed and blooming. And definitely not the way Haley showed up to service, wearing one of my old cardigans like she owned it, and black jeans with holes at the knees. My mother almost said something, I saw it in her eyes. But my father? He just looked at Haley like she was a stray dog he pitted, but couldn't figure out if it had rabies. She sat near the back of the chapel, slouched low in the pew. I sat in the front row like always, but I could feel her behind me, like heat on the back of my neck. I didn't dare turn around. The choir sang Jesus Paid It All, and I couldn't get past the line. Sin had left a crimson stain, because in my mind, all I saw was her lip cracked and healing, her cheek bruised, and that scar between her breasts from the towel slipping the night before when she passed me in the hallway. I sat there and tried to be holy, but all I could feel was hunger. Then, my father stepped up to the pulpit. Calm, measured, Bible in hand, as if the leather gave him power. Today's message, he said, is about the war between flesh and spirit. My stomach sank. I knew that phrase. I'd heard it 100 times, but never like this. Not with Haley in the room. He opened to Galatians. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh. I swallowed hard. My palms were sweating. I didn't move, didn't blink. The enemy, my father continued, voice rising, does not always come with horns and flames. Sometimes it comes wrapped in softness, in beauty, in the quiet whisper of your own desire. I flinched. I swear I did. My hands clenched in my lap, fingers digging into my thighs. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I felt naked, like he knew, like he'd peeled back my skin and seen all the thoughts I buried last night. It is not loving to indulge what is wicked, he said. It is not kindness to excuse the sin your flesh craves. Lust is not love. Desire is not freedom. It is bondage. It is fire, and it will consume you. I felt like the whole room could hear my heart pounding. I closed my eyes, just for a second, and there she was. Haley, smirking, shirt slipping, eyes dark and amused. I opened them again, breathing sharp. Then I turned, just slightly, just once, and she was looking at me. Not the pulpit, not the cross. Me, leaned forward in the pew, elbows on her knees, a slow smile tugging at her mouth like she knew exactly what kind of storm she was dragging me into. And the worst part, I wanted it. I wanted to burn. I thought I'd be alone in the kitchen. Everyone else had gone to bed. Even the house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels intentional. The kind that wraps around your body like a warning. Be still. Be good. I stood at the sink, sleeves rolled up, warm water clouding with soap. My hands moved on autopilot. Plate, scrub, rinse, repeat. I was just trying to calm down, trying not to think. And then I heard it. Need help? Her voice. Low. Right behind me. I jumped. God. I turned too fast. I didn't hear you come in. Haley leaned against the doorway. No shoes. Just bare feet in shadows. She was wearing that same cardigan, my cardigan, sleeves pushed up, a little off her shoulder now. Didn't mean to scare you, she said, stepping closer. But figure I should earn my keep. You don't have to, I said. Too fast. Too nervous. I know, she replied, already moving past me. But I want to. And just like that, she was next to me, elbow to elbow, in my space. Here, I said, trying to sound normal. You can dry. I handed her a plate. Our fingers touched not long, but enough. Her hands are rougher than I expected. Calloused. Warm. My breath caught, just slightly, but I know she felt it. You always this jumpy? She asked, smirking. I'm not jumpy. Sure you're not. I side-eyed her. She was smiling now, playful, confident, like she enjoyed seeing me squirm. She picked up the towel, started drying. So, she said after a moment, you always wash dishes this late, or am I just lucky? It helps me think. Think about what? I hesitated. Stuff. Wow, she chuckled. You really know how to keep a conversation going. You ask a lot of questions for someone who doesn't answer any. That made her pause. She looked at me, really looked. Touché, she said softly. You got some fire in there after all. My hands were still in the water. I could feel my heartbeat in my wrists. You think I'm dull? I asked. No, she said. I think you're quiet, but not dull. She turned slightly, voice dropping. I think you got a lot going on in there that you're scared to say out loud. I swallowed. You don't know me. Maybe not, she said. But I know that look. What look? The one you give me when you think I'm not looking. She stepped closer, now drying the glass in her hand real slow. The one that says you want something you're not supposed to want. My breath caught in my throat. The glass slipped from my fingers back into the water. Not loud, but enough to break the moment. I grabbed it quick, scrubbed harder. Anything to distract from the heat crawling up my neck. You think you know a lot, I mumbled. I know enough, she said. I know you're scared of what it'd mean if I touched you right now. I turned to her. Don't, I whispered. Not loud, not firm, but not convincing either. She leaned in just barely, close enough for me to feel her breath. I haven't even done anything yet, she said, her voice damn near sinful. My body was screaming, wanting, but my hands were shaking. You should go to bed, I said, barely audible. She smiled, slow, sharp. Yeah, she murmured. Probably should. And just like that, she turned and left, bare feet against the tile. No rush, no guilt. I stood there at the sink, heart thundering, soap water dripping from my fingers. And all I could think was, if she had touched me, I wouldn't have stopped her. It was almost midnight when I saw the light under the back door. Everyone else was asleep. I'd waited. I knew the sounds of this house like my own heartbeat. My mother's door creaks. My father's old knees make the floor moan. The fridge hums at 11:45. But this was different. I crept downstairs barefoot, not even sure why. I told myself I needed water. But the truth was, I hoped I'd find her. I cracked the back door open and stepped out. She was sitting on the porch steps, legs stretched out, one arm draped over her knee, a cigarette glowing between her fingers. My cardigan was slipping again. That same old thing. Like she knew it was mine and wore it to mess with me. She didn't turn when she heard me. She just said, "Can't sleep?" "Neither can you," I replied. Didn't say I tried. I hovered near the door. The air was thick with summer and smoke. You know my dad would lose his mind if he saw you smoking that. I muttered. Guess it's a good thing he's not out here, she said. Then she turned slightly, just enough for me to see her smirk. Unless you're planning to snitch. I'm not, I said quickly. Too quickly. She patted the spot beside her. Come sit. I won't bite. I didn't move. Unless you want me to, she added. That same damn smirk deepening. My breath hitched. That's not funny, I whispered, Stepping onto the porch anyway. Didn't say it was. I sat down, careful, quiet, just far enough that we weren't touching, but close enough that I could smell her skin through the smoke. She took a long drag, exhaled slow. The smoke curled up toward the stars, like a secret rising into heaven. You ever think about running away? She asked suddenly. I blinked. What? From all this? Your family, the God stuff, the expectations. You ever think about just walking off the edge of your life? I looked down at my lap, picked at a thread on my nightgown. Sometimes I admitted. Yeah, she said, eyes on the sky. You got that look, that quiet kind of miserable, the kind you hide under good manners and Bible verses. You don't even know me. I know enough. She glanced at me then, just her eyes. And I felt it. That pull again. That stupid magnetic ache. You scared? She asked. Of what? Me. I swallowed hard. Maybe. Good, she said, flicking her ash into the darkness. Means you're not stupid. We sat in silence again. Then she said, You ever been kissed? My heart stopped. What? It's a simple question. I didn't answer. She chuckled softly. That's a no, huh? Why do you care? Because I look at you, she said, finally turning to face me. And I wonder what would happen if someone did. I froze. Her cigarette was nearly burned out now, but she didn't flick it away. She just held it between her fingers, letting it burn. You'd probably hate it, she said. You don't know that. Oh, her voice dropped. So, what? You do want to be kissed. I looked at her, really looked. Her lips were parted, her eyes too close, her breath still laced with smoke and sin. I should go back inside, I whispered. She leaned closer, not enough to touch me, but just enough to ruin me. Then go, she said. I didn't move. I couldn't. Say the word. Church girl, she breathed. Tell me to stop. I stared at her mouth. I didn't say anything. She smirked like she'd won. Then, just before her lips touched mine, she pulled back. Just enough to leave me shaking. You don't know what you want, she said softly. But I do. And with that, she stood, tossed the cigarette into the grass. Good night, Naomi. And then she was gone, leaving me on the porch, pulse in my throat, hands clenched in my lap, wondering why I was disappointed she didn't kiss me. My hands were shaking, not from cold, not from fear, from whatever the hell she did to me. I sat on my bed, knees tucked under me, the journal open across my lap, pages full of careful cursive and Bible verses I used to copy when I was younger, trying to be holy. But tonight, I couldn't write a single damn scripture. My mind was a storm. My fingers? Possessed. I saw her lips tonight. That's what I wrote first. My pen scratched the page like it hated me for telling the truth. She didn't kiss me, but she could have. God help me, I wanted her to. I dropped the pen, covered my mouth like that would somehow undo what I wrote. But the sentence stared back at me, raw, ugly, honest. I picked the pen up again, wrote slower this time. She makes me feel something I don't have a name for. It's not just lust. It's not just curiosity. It's like she sees the parts of me I've spent my whole life hiding. I paused. My breath was shallow. My thighs clenched without permission. I want to touch her. I want her to touch me back. I shut the journal so fast it smacked against my thighs. My face was on fire. I sat there, still. Like if I didn't move, the thoughts would stop. But they didn't. They came harder. Her leaning in, her breath on my skin, her fingers brushing mine in the sink. Her saying, "Say the word, church girl." I pressed my legs together. My body felt hot, wild, stupid. I tried praying again. Nothing came out. My lips moved, but the only name I whispered was hers. Haley. I bit down on my lower lip, hard enough to sting. I wasn't supposed to feel like this. Not for a woman. Not in this house. Not while my father slept down the hall. But my body didn't care. My heart didn't either. I opened the journal again, turned to a blank page. I didn't write anything at first, just stared. Then finally, in small, shaky letters, "If she kissed me tonight, I don't think I would have stopped her." I closed the book, slid it under my mattress like it could burn me if I left out. I lay back in bed, staring at the ceiling. The window was open. A breeze drifted through, soft and sweet. But all I could smell was smoke. All I could feel was the ghost of her lips, hovering just a breath away from mine. I wasn't trying to see her. I was just thirsty. That's what I told myself. Just going to the kitchen. Just a glass of water. Nothing more. But even in the dark, I knew her door was open. Not wide. Just cracked. Barely. Enough to see the flicker of lamplight. Enough to feel it calling to me like it had a voice. I froze in the hallway. I shouldn't look. I knew that. But I did. I stepped quietly, slowly. Closer. Closer. The door creaked just enough to widen when I passed. And then I saw her. Haley. Sitting on the edge of the bed. Legs bare. Just a tank top clinging to her like it had been painted on. One knee pulled up. Head tilted back. Her eyes were closed. She looked tired. Or maybe undone. I should have walked away. I should have run back to my room and thrown myself into a prayer until sunrise. But I didn't. I stood there, quiet, hidden in the shadow just outside her door, watching her like a sinner watches the edge of a cliff, knowing one more step means falling forever. She exhaled, long, slow, and then she opened her eyes, right at me, like she knew I was there, like she felt me. My breath caught. My heart started sprinting. She didn't move, didn't speak, just held my gaze. And her mouth, God help me. Her mouth pulled into the slowest, smallest smile. The kind of smile that didn't say, "Come in." It said, "I know you want to." I gripped the door frame, fingers tight. Every inch of me ached. Not just between my thighs, but everywhere. In my chest. My throat. My soul. She leaned back on her hands, just slightly. The tank top dipped. Her collarbone caught the light. Still silent. Still watching me. Waiting. I should have left. But instead I stepped inside. One step. Just over the threshold. She didn't speak. Neither did I. We just stared. The air was so heavy. I swear I could feel it brushing my skin. And then, a voice in my head screamed, "If you don't leave now, you never will." I turned, walked out, not fast, not slow, but with my whole body trembling. I didn't shut her door. I couldn't. And I knew she'd leave it open again tomorrow. The garden was my mother's pride. She planted it with trembling hands and prayer-soaked soil. Roses, lilies, wild thyme, and something she called soul mint from a nun in Benin. It smelled like peace, which is why I always came here when I needed to breathe. But this time, she was already there. Haley, sitting on the stone bench under the hibiscus tree, biting into a green apple like Eve herself. She didn't look surprised when I came around the corner. She never did. "Didn't know this was your spot," she said, mouth half full, tone low and amused. "It's not." I lied. She arched a brow. "Sure. I stayed standing, arms crossed. She leaned back, spreading her legs just enough to look careless. "You're running," she said. "Again? From what?" "From me. From yourself. From what you felt at that door last night." "I didn't feel anything," I snapped. "Too sharp. Too fast." She smiled, slow, dangerous. "Liar." I hated how my thighs clenched at the sound of her voice. I hated how I wanted to kneel between hers and ask her to ruin me. But more than that, I hated how she could see it. "You think you scare me," I said. "I know I do." "You don't." "Then why are your hands shaking?" I looked down. They were. Damn it. Haley stood. She was taller than me just slightly, close enough now that I could smell the apple on her breath, and the soap she'd stolen from our bathroom. "Tell me to stop," she whispered. I didn't. "Tell me you don't want this," she breathed, stepping even closer. I said nothing. Her fingers brushed mine, not grabbing, just hovering, an invitation. And that's when I broke. I grabbed her wrist, pulled her hand to my chest, right over my racing heart. "Do you feel that?" I asked, voice low and trembling. "That's what you do to me." She leaned in, her forehead pressing against mine, her lips just inches away. "Then stop fighting it," she whispered. "Stop pretending you're not starving." My eyes flared shut. Her breath was everywhere, hot, sinful, alive. And then, a twig snapped in the distance. I yanked away like I'd been electrocuted. We both froze. Silence. A bird fluttered off the fence. Nothing else. But it was enough to break the moment. I stepped back, heart hammering. "This isn't right," I whispered. "Neither is pretending you're someone you're not." She shot back. She tossed the apple to the ground, walked past me. As she brushed my shoulder, she murmured, "You're going to crack, Naomi. And when you do, you'll come to me." The chapel smelled like incense and dust. I'd grown up here, every sermon, every song, every amen echoing through my bones like it was stitched into my blood. But that morning, I didn't feel holy. I felt haunted. I waited until the service ended, until the old women filed out with their fans and murmured gossip masked as prayer. Then I slipped into the side aisle, straight to the confessional. I didn't tell my father. He'd ask questions. He'd see too much. No, I went to the visiting priest, the quiet one with soft hands and downcast eyes. I stepped inside the booth. Saturday. The screen slid open. "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit," I whispered, crossing myself with trembling fingers. "Speak, child," came his voice. "What burdens your heart today?" My throat tightened. I didn't answer right away. Because, how do you confess wanting a girl so badly it aches in your soul? I started. "I've sinned in thought, in desire, in body." A pause. Then softly, "Go on." "There's a girl," I whispered. "She's staying with us. She's wild, loud, angry. And I exhaled hard. "I want her." Silence. I could hear the creak of the priest shifting behind the screen. "You mean you're tempted," he corrected. "No," I said. "I mean, I want her. In every way. I think about her when I'm alone. I think about touching her. I think about her mouth, her voice, her hands. I write about her at night. I dream about her. My voice cracked. I want her to ruin me, and I'm scared I won't stop her if she tries." The booth felt smaller now, the air thick, my thighs pressed together, my fingers clenched. "And what do you feel?" he asked. "Shame?" Regret. I hesitated. That was the problem. No, I whispered. I feel alive. Another long pause. Then, the devil wears many faces, child. This girl may be beautiful, but temptation always is. What if I don't want to resist anymore? I asked, voice shaking. What if I'm tired of pretending? He was silent again. I imagined him sitting there, stunned, disappointed, maybe even praying for my soul. But I wasn't sorry. Not really. I looked at my hands, at the way my nails dug crescents into my palms. Give me your penance, I said flatly, so I can be forgiven and go home and keep wanting her in silence. The screen slid shut without another word. I sat there for a moment, still, alone in the dark, and for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't want to be forgiven. Not for this. The house was quiet. My parents had gone to town for the day. A church thing. A long one. I told them I had cramps, lied straight through my teeth, and kissed my mother on the cheek so she wouldn't suspect anything. Haley was supposed to be asleep, or out, or anywhere but where she was. I came down the stairs slowly, the way you do when you think you're alone. No bra, a long shirt, bare feet, and then I saw her. In my clothes. Not just the cardigan this time, my shirt, my sweatpants, hanging off her hips like they were made for her and ruined for me. She was in the kitchen, standing at the counter, eating cereal straight from the box like she paid rent here. She looked up when I walked in and smiled. Didn't think I'd see you today, she said. You always were other people's things. I asked, only when I like the way they smell. My stomach flipped. You're not supposed to be here, I said quietly. Neither are you. She tilted the box toward me. Want some? I shook my head. You didn't ask. You didn't stop me. I leaned against the doorway, tried to keep my arms crossed so she wouldn't see the way my fingers were shaking. She chewed slowly, watching me like I was some kind of riddle she already knew the answer to. What are you so afraid of? She asked. You, I said before I could stop myself. Her smile deepened. You make me feel undone, I added, like I'm always 2 seconds away from doing something I'll regret. And you think I don't feel the same? I laughed bitterly. You look like you don't feel anything at all. She walked toward me then. Slow, lazy, cereal box still in one hand. That's because I've already accepted who I am, she said. You're still pretending. I'm not pretending. You're wearing a purity ring. I looked down at my hand. The silver band caught the light like it was mocking me. Take it off, she whispered. Why? Because it's lying for you. She was in front of me now. So close. I could smell the faintest trace of cinnamon and laundry detergent. Her fingers reached up, slowly, not touching me yet, just hovering over the ring. Let me, she asked. My chest was rising too fast. I couldn't speak, so I just nodded. She slid her fingers over mine. Her touch was soft, reverent, like she wasn't removing jewelry, but undoing a vow. She pulled the ring off, held it between 2 fingers, looked at it. Then she placed it on the kitchen counter, right between us. Better, she whispered. I stood there frozen. My hand felt naked. My heart felt loud. You want me to leave? She asked. I didn't answer. Say the word, Naomi. I stared at the ring, then at her. No, I said finally. Don't go. She stepped back, just enough to give me space to breathe again. I'll be upstairs, she said softly. If you change your mind. And then she was gone, leaving me alone in the kitchen with nothing but a silver band and the sound of my own betrayal. It started raining just before sundown. Not a soft sprinkle, not a gentle drizzle. A full, unapologetic downpour. The kind of rain that soaks the ground in seconds and rattles the windows like God himself is trying to get in. I watched it from the hallway window, arms folded, nerves raw. I'd been thinking about her all day, thinking about the ring on the counter, thinking about the way her fingers felt when she took it off, thinking about the space she left behind inside me. I didn't know she was outside until lightning flashed, and I saw her, standing in the middle of the garden, head tilted back, arms open, soaked. Her tank top clung to her skin like second flesh. Her hair plastered her cheeks, and even from up here, I could see the way her chest rose, like every breath was a dare. I don't remember moving. All I know is suddenly I was barefoot on the back porch, rain slapping against the wood, my nightgown already clinging to my legs. She turned when she heard me, didn't smile, didn't speak, just watched me the way she always did. Like I was both a question and an answer she was dying to taste. "What are you doing?" I called, over the sound of the storm. "Feeling alive," she said. Her voice was soft, but I heard it like it was meant just for me. "You'll get sick," I said stupidly. "So will you." Another flash of lightning, another crash of thunder, and I walked to her. Every step through the wet grass was a sin I couldn't undo. Every heartbeat was louder than the rain. She didn't move. She let me come to her. "Why do you keep doing this to me?" I asked, chest heaving. "Doing what?" "Making me want things I can't have." She stepped in, closer, water dripping from her chin, her lashes, her collarbone. "Maybe you were never meant to be denied, Naomi," she whispered. "This is wrong." "Then stop me." I didn't. I couldn't. She reached up, so slow, so gentle, and tucked a strand of my soaked hair behind my ear. Her fingers brushed my skin. I gasped. "Say it," she breathed. "Say you don't want me." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She smiled, barely, and then she leaned in, not kissing me, just hovering, lips close enough to taste. And that's when I broke. I grabbed her face, both hands shaking, and crashed into her mouth like I'd been holding my breath for years. The kiss was nothing like I imagined. It was worse. Raw, messy, desperate. She kissed me like she wanted to rip me apart and live into pieces. I moaned into her. She pressed her body against mine. My nightgown clung to my skin and hers to hers. And together we were a storm of tongues and teeth and trembling hands. Thunder cracked above us, but I didn't care. Her hand slid under my gown not far, just the tops of my thighs. But it was enough. My knees buckled. She caught me. "Say the word," she whispered against my lips. "Don't stop." I breathed. Her hands gripped tighter. The kiss deepened. And in that moment I knew I would never be the same again. Not after her. Not after this. I stayed in bed the entire next day. I didn't eat, didn't speak, didn't move except to breathe. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt her hands on me. Her mouth, her voice when she whispered, "Don't stop me." My body still ached like I hadn't come down from whatever high she gave me. But my heart, it was a battlefield. I told myself it was a mistake, that the rain made it worse, that maybe it didn't count. But it did. God, it did, because I could still taste her. There was a knock on my door around noon. I didn't answer. She knocked again. "Naomi," she said soft through the wood. "Let me in." I didn't move. "I won't touch you," she added. I just want to talk. That was a lie. We both knew it. But I got up anyway. I opened the door just enough for her to see my face. Her eyes searched mine. No smirk. No smug confidence this time. Just her. Barefoot. Damp hair. Hoodie falling off her shoulder. Hey, she said. What do you want? To know you're okay. I'm not. A pause. She looked down. I figured. This was a mistake. It didn't feel like one. I stepped out into the hall and shut the door behind me. I didn't want my room to remember her. You can't keep doing this, I whispered. Doing what? Pulling me in, kissing me, making me want things that'll ruin me. She stepped closer. Just enough. You weren't ruined last night, she said. You were free. I was weak. You were honest. I looked away. My throat was tight. You don't get it, I said. You didn't grow up like I did. In this house. With these rules. These expectations. My father. Your father isn't here right now, she said softly. But God is. That stopped her. For a second. Then she stepped even closer. Her breath against my cheek. If God made you and you want me. She leaned in, lips grazing my ear. Then maybe he's not as mad about it as you think. My knees buckled. I grabbed the wall. She stepped back just a little. I'm going to the chapel tonight, she said. The retreat starts tomorrow. Quiet. Peace. Time to think. What does that have to do with me? I want you to come with me. I blinked. To the chapel? To the retreat. Just us. One night. No noise. No rules. No pretending. And what happens there? She smirked, but it wasn't cocky. It was sad. Like she already knew the answer might be no. Whatever you let happen. And then she walked away. It was quiet in the woods. Not the kind of quiet that comforts you. The kind that forces you to hear yourself. Every breath. Every heartbeat. Every broken prayer. I'd never been this far out from the chapel before. My father used to warn me about the woods. Darkness lives where God doesn't walk, he'd say. But when I stepped into the little wooden cabin at the edge of the trees, Haley was already there. And suddenly, I didn't care if God was watching. She sat on the floor barefoot, a single candle lit between us. Her knees pulled to her chest. My hoodie still clinging to her frame, like it remembered last night too. She looked up at me, and without a word, she reached out and patted the space beside her. I sat down slowly, not touching her, but close enough to feel the warmth of her body, like a sin I was already halfway through committing. You ever just hate how much you want something? I asked quietly. Only every day, she whispered. I looked down, my fingers twisted in my lap. I'm scared, I confessed. Of me, of what you make me feel. I swallowed hard. Of the fact that I don't feel wrong when I'm near you. I feel whole. Like I've been holding my breath my whole life, and didn't even know it until you walked in. Haley turned toward me. You don't have to lie here, she said. I'm not lying. No, she whispered. I mean here in this place. With me, you don't have to wear the mask. Not tonight. I felt my eyes sting, and for the first time since I was a child, I cried. No sound, just tears sliding down my cheeks like they'd been waiting years to fall. Haley didn't rush me. She didn't grab or speak or try to fix it. She just sat there, watching me, and then slowly reached over and took my hand. Fingers warm, steady, not pulling, just holding. And when I didn't flinch, she moved closer. Her thigh brushed mine. You know what I love about you? She said. What? You still think you're broken, and yet, somehow you still shine. I let out a shaky laugh. You barely know me, but I see you, and no one's ever taught you what that's supposed to feel like. Silence. And then, softly, she whispered, "Can I hold you?" I didn't answer. I just leaned into her. Let her wrap her arms around me. Let my cheek press against her collarbone. We sat there like that for a long time. The candle flickering, my tears drying against her skin. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel ashamed. I just felt held. Her arms around me felt safer than any pew I'd ever sat in. Her breath against my temple. A hymn I never learned but somehow already knew. I didn't move for a long time. Just let her hold me. Let myself be held. And when I finally looked up, her eyes were already on me. Soft, patient, like she was waiting for a signal. Not from my mouth, but from somewhere deeper. I didn't give her words. I just leaned forward, slowly, barely breathing. Our lips touched like they were praying. Gentle, sacred, searching. She kissed me like she was afraid I'd disappear. Like she wanted to savor it before the world punished us for it. And I kissed her like I didn't care if it did. Her hands slid on my back. Warm, reverent, like she was mapping me for the first time. She didn't grab. She didn't rush. She just felt. Every inch of me. Every tremble. Every hesitation. "Are you sure?" she whispered against my lips. I nodded, then whispered back, "I've never been more sure of anything." She smiled and kissed me deeper. Her tongue found mine slowly, like a secret she was finally ready to share. I climbed into her lap, my thighs wrapped around her hips. My gown hiked up as her fingers slid beneath the fabric, palms open, searching for bare skin. And when she found it, I gasped. Her touch wasn't just soft, it was intentional. Like she'd thought about this. Like she'd imagined the feel of my skin 100 times. "You're shaking," she whispered, nose brushing mine, "because you're touching me like I'm not made of sin." "You're not." "Then why do I feel like I'm on fire?" She kissed my neck, slowly, then deeper. Her tongue traced the curve of my collarbone. "Because you are," she said, voice low, "and I want to burn with you." My fingers tangled in her hair. I tilted my head, letting her lips travel lower. She pushed the gown off my shoulder, just one side, and kissed the skin like it was holy. Her mouth moved so slowly, so deliberately. No rush, no greed, just worship. I pulled at her hoodie. I needed more of her. All of her. Needed to feel her pressed against me. Nothing in the way. We stripped slowly, piece by piece. She looked at me like I was art she didn't think she'd ever be allowed to touch. And when we were bare, skin to skin, breath to breath, she didn't take me. She just held me again, fingers stroking my back, lips against my shoulder. And when she finally did move lower, when her hands slid between my thighs and made me arch into her, I didn't feel dirty. I felt alive. My moans were soft at first, like I was still afraid someone might hear. But she kept going, kept circling, kept whispering my name like a promise. "Naomi." And when I came, shaking in her arms, it wasn't shame I felt. It was release. It was freedom. It was everything I'd been told I couldn't have and took anyway. I collapsed against her, breathing hard, skin warm, heart open. "Are you okay?" she asked, lips at my ear. I nodded, then whispered, "Don't stop holding me." I woke up in her arms. The candle had burned out. The room smelled like us, warm skin, soft sweat. something like honey and heat. My legs were tangled with hers. Her arm was draped across my waist. And for the first time in months, I wasn't dreaming of drowning. I was just breathing. The light from the cabin window crept across the floor, slow and golden. Birds chirped outside. The world was waking up, innocent, unaware of what happened here in the dark. I shifted slightly, just enough to see her face. She looked peaceful, eyelashes like soft ink on her cheeks, lips parted just enough to make me ache again. My body still pulsed with memory, but it wasn't just desire anymore. It was something deeper. I ran my fingers gently along her jaw. She stirred, and her eyes fluttered open. "Hey," she said, voice husky with sleep. "Hey." She smiled, lazy and perfect. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." "You were amazing," she whispered, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "All of you. The way you let go, it was beautiful." My throat tightened. "No one's ever looked at me like you do," I said softly. Then they weren't really looking. Silence settled for a moment, gentle like a sheet pulled over bare skin. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. The question sank into me. I thought about it, really thought, about the way I moaned her name with my hand in her hair, about the way her touch made me feel seen, not used, about the way she whispered, "You're allowed to want this," when I started to shake. I shook my head. "No," I said. "I regret not letting it happen sooner." Her smile faded into something softer, something sadder. But I'm scared of what comes next. Your father, myself," I said. "What I'll do to protect what we had last night." "Naomi." She sat up slowly, taking my hands in hers. "You don't have to go back to pretending," she said. "We can figure this out, quietly, safely, together." I looked down at her fingers. Her thumb brushed a slow circle on my knuckle. "We can't hide forever," I whispered. "Then we stop hiding when you're ready." I looked up at her. "You'd wait for me?" She nodded, without hesitation. "I'd wait as long as it takes." I leaned in again, kissed her, soft, grateful, trembling. A kiss that didn't need fire to burn. A kiss that tasted like hope. The walk home felt longer than it should have. Maybe it was the weight of what we'd done. Maybe it was the way the sun hit my skin, too warm, like it was trying to burn away the memory of her touch. Or maybe I didn't want to go back at all. Haley walked beside me, silent. Our hands brushed now and then, but we didn't hold each other. Not out here. The closer we got to the house, the heavier it felt. Like every step dragged a chain of who I was supposed to be behind me. The gates of the compound creaked as we opened them. The chapel bell rang faintly in the distance, and my stomach tightened when I saw my father's car already parked out front. "You okay?" Haley asked. I nodded. Lied. "I'll see you later," she said gently, eyes lingering on me like she wasn't sure she'd get the chance again. I wanted to say something brave. I wanted to grab her hand, to kiss her in full view of the world and let it fall apart. But all I could manage was, "Thank you for last night." "Don't thank me," she whispered. "Just don't forget it." And then she turned and walked toward her side of the house, the guest quarters, like she hadn't just rewritten the shape of my soul. I stood there for a moment, heart thudding, and then I walked inside. My father was in the study. The moment he saw me, he looked up from his Bible. "Where have you been?" he asked. "At the retreat," I answered, "praying." He studied me, not the way a father watches his daughter, but like a pastor inspecting a sinner. "You've changed," he said. "Maybe," I replied. "Maybe I finally stopped pretending." His jaw tightened. "You know, what happens to girls who lose their way?" "Maybe they were never lost," I said, stepping past him. "Maybe they just stopped living someone else's map." I didn't wait for his reply. I went upstairs, shut the door behind me, and for the first time in years, I didn't pray to be different. I prayed I'd have the strength to be exactly who I was. Church felt different that Sunday. I wore my best dress, hair pinned just right, face quiet, composed. But inside, my thoughts were loud, louder than the choir, louder than the sermon. I sat beside my mother, hands folded neatly on my lap. My father stood at the pulpit, preaching about purity, discipline, control. Every word felt like it was aimed straight at me. Like he knew. Like maybe I still smelled like Haley's skin. Behind me, I felt the weight of the eyes. Not many, just enough. Whispers that barely touched the air. "She disappeared for a night, you know. Heard the wild girl was with her. That one's always been too pretty for her own good." I kept my chin up, smiled when I had to, bowed my head when prayer came. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, her mouth on my neck, her hands trembling against my skin, the way she said my name like a secret she never wanted to give back. When the final hymn played, I stood to sing, and she was there, Haley, standing in the back, dressed in black, eyes fixed on me like I was the altar she'd been worshiping all along. My breath caught, and suddenly I didn't care who saw. I took one step toward the aisle, but my father's hand caught my wrist. "Not now," he said under his breath, smile still on his lips for the crowd. I wasn't asking, I whispered. I slipped past him, my heels clicking softly against the church floor. Every step felt like I was walking away from everything I was raised to be. When I reached Haley, she didn't say anything, just held out her hand. I took it. They called it a private conversation. But there were 5 of them in the room. 5 elders. Suits stiff, Bibles open, eyes sharper than knives. My father sat at the head of the table, not as my dad, but as Pastor Elijah. "Naomi," he said, voice like cold marble. "Please sit." I did, back straight, hands folded neatly in my lap, like I was still trying to look holy. But inside, I was fire. "We've had concerns," said Elder Matthews, the one who always stared too long during communion. "You've been seen with a certain young woman." "Haley," I said calmly. "Her name is Haley." He blinked. "Yes, well, her lifestyle isn't in line with the values we uphold." "And mine?" I asked. "Are mine?" A pause. My father's jaw tensed. "You've always been a bright, obedient girl," he said. "But lately you've strayed. You've allowed yourself to be influenced." "You mean I let myself feel something?" Elder Thomas leaned forward. "Feelings are not facts, Naomi. You've let lust cloud your faith." "No," I said. My voice didn't shake. "I let love teach me truth." My father stood up. "Naomi, you will end this. Whatever it is. You will pray and you will repent. Publicly." "For what?" I asked. "For loving someone who held me when I cried? For finally feeling safe in someone's arms?" His face darkened. "For dishonoring God, and your family, and this house." I looked around the room, at the men who claimed to speak for heaven, and I smiled. "If God made me," I said, standing, He made all of me. And if He didn't want me to love her, then He shouldn't have let her be so gentle with me. My mother gasped softly from the doorway. I hadn't seen her there. Naomi, she said, eyes wide with pain. I turned to her. You raised me to speak truth, Mama. I'm doing that now. She didn't speak. My father did. You walk out that door, Naomi Grace, and you walk out alone. I swallowed. My heart pounded, but I walked anyway. Hand on the knob, eyes straight ahead. And just before I opened it, a voice behind me said softly, You are not lost, just no longer theirs. I didn't look back. I didn't cry. I opened the door and walked into the sunlight. Haley was leaning against the gate when I stepped outside. She didn't ask what happened. Didn't need to. She saw it in my eyes. The fire, the fracture, the girl who used to pray to be different, now walking like she already was. Well, she said, smiling just a little. Did they throw holy water at you or just words? Words, I said, breathless. But they cut deep. You okay? No, I admitted. But I'm finally honest. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Skin against skin, no flinching. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for, she said. Even now, if this is too much. I pulled her close. Not a kiss. Not yet. Just held her. Buried my face in her neck and breathed her in like she was the only thing keeping me grounded. I don't want to leave everything, I whispered. But I don't want to lose you either. You won't. I might. She leaned back, looked me in the eyes. Then let's find a place where you don't have to choose. Is there such a place? Not here, she said softly. But we can make one. Silence. Wind stirred the leaves around us. A car passed by in the distance. Indifferent to the way my world was crumbling and rebuilding in real time. Where would we go? I asked. Anywhere we're allowed to wake up next to each other without guilt gnawing at our skin. I swallowed. You're serious. I've never been more. She waited, not pushing, not pulling. And for the first time in my life, the choice was mine. I thought of my mother's eyes at the door, my father's threats, the elders' stares, the hymns, the lies, the mirror I can never look into too long. Then I thought of last night, her lips on my shoulder, her voice saying, You're allowed to want this. And I whispered, Take me with you. Haley's smile broke slowly, like sunlight through storm clouds. She squeezed my hand. Then let's go. And this time, I didn't look back. It's been 3 weeks. 3 weeks since I walked out of that house. 3 weeks since I let go of everything that told me who I had to be. I sleep in a twin bed beside a cracked window now. The air here smells like pine and car oil. There's a dog that barks every night across the alley. The neighbors don't talk much. And yet, I've never felt more home. Haley found us this tiny rental apartment 2 towns over. It's barely bigger than the church library I used to clean. But there's music here, and laughter, and a kitchen I'm learning how to use without burning rice every night. She writes at the window most mornings. Notebook in her lap, coffee in hand, legs crossed and hair messy from sleep. I think I fall in love with her a little more every day. Not just because she touches me like I'm something rare, but because she listens when I cry without asking for explanations. Last week, I had a nightmare. My father was yelling. My mother was crying. The church doors were locked behind me, and I was pounding on them, begging to be let in. I woke up shaking. Haley didn't say anything. She just pulled me into her lap, held me like a child, and whispered, You don't need their doors anymore. And she was right. I still flinch when I hear a sermon through an open window. I still hesitate when I hold her hand in public. But I don't lie anymore. I don't pretend. I don't shrink. I let myself love. Loudly. Imperfectly. Honestly. Some days are harder than others. I miss my mother's humming. I miss how quiet the chapel felt at night. But I don't miss hating myself. I don't miss asking God to fix a part of me that was never broken. Today, Haley brought home a stack of old books from a thrift shop. Among them was a worn leather journal. She handed it to me and said, "Write the story only you can tell." So I'm writing this. For the girl I used to be. For the girl still sitting in pews, knees pressed together, praying her feelings go away. I hope she knows there's life beyond shame. That love doesn't have to look like punishment. And that when she's ready to walk away, she won't be walking alone.